knockout ratio, 19 wins, and 17 of them coming by stoppage.
And brutal stoppages as well. This is not a case of the referee coming in and saving someone from getting hurt. Jin Sasaki hits with real, convincing, fight-ending power. He doesn't alter fights with his power. He ends fights with his power. And he will be, and has been a joy to watch, and as you'll see in our main event, will continue to be. And hopefully this is one of those fights that doesn't produce 1 star, but produces 2 stars.
Produces 2, for sure. I mean, there was already a bit of star power buzz going around after the Obara knockout. It's his most notable for sure. In the 3rd round, just absolutely flatlined him with a right hand. And, I kind of wrote it down in my notes kind of as a joke to myself, but it's true. He hits people so hard that they look confused when they're sitting on the ground. Like, they don't know how they got there. It's the shots just come from strange angles. It's a lot of looping shots, which maybe when you're in the middle of a combination, you don't quite see it coming. And with the power that's coming from Sasaki, if you don't see it, you're in trouble.
You mentioned that fight against Obara for Sasaki. He was dropped in that fight. And you know what? Brian Norman Jr. has seen the canvas too. This is what makes this fight so intriguing. These guys hit and occasionally get hit. They're very similar in their temperament. They're very similar in the styles they bring. Obviously, around the edges, there are probably some slight differences, but each throws with incredible power from very peculiar arm angles at times. When you watch Brian Norman Jr., that right hand comes from angles that you generally don't see right hands come from. Same with his left hook. Both hands extremely powerful, but these shots are coming from both fighters from angles that aren't necessarily noted in boxing textbooks.
And Norman, of course, he loves to double up on his left hand as well. His lead hand, he'll go with a left hook, a dig to the body, and then just quickly, without even turning his hand back, just pop one upstairs. And with the power that he's able to generate, it's one of those ones, like you had mentioned, that just it catches people off guard. They're not expecting it to come from that angle, or it's almost a shot maybe you shouldn't throw by the textbook, by the textbook way of looking at things. But the way that he does it, it's effective, and it catches people off guard, and it puts people to sleep.
The only people not put to sleep are viewers, because when you watch these fights, again, you want to see them again and again and again, and that is, I think, the key to building success in this sport. If you don't have the platform of, say, an Olympics, or you don't have social media accounts that some of these fighters have, you get on TV, you put on a show, and you will want to be seen again and again and again.
And, sometimes when you see 2 guys that are knockout artists, especially like this, you can kind of just chalk it up to being, okay, well, this one's going to be quick. This one's going to be over fast. It'll be a firefight. But both guys have shown the ability to go into the later rounds and still be effective. When Norman Jr. took out Santillan, that was in the 10th round. Sasaki's coming off a 12-round UD over Sakai. I mean, these are guys that their power carries through all rounds, and we've got 12 rounds on the slate for tonight. And if we see all 12, you're always on knockout watch. Anything could happen through all 12 rounds, all 36 minutes. These guys can bring it from start to finish.
And don't think that Brian Norman is somehow out of his depth because he's in Japan. Brian Norman spent most of his career fighting anywhere but his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. He started his career, his first 14 fights were in Mexico.
Yep, turned pro at 17.
He turned pro at 17. 10 of those fights were before his 18th birthday. So here's a guy who's absolutely not bothered at all by fighting anywhere but his hometown. He loves getting on the road. He loves showing his passport off, and he loves telling the world that he is indeed an elite fighter.
And he spoke about that in the lead up to the fight. He came out to Japan very early. It wasn't just he showed up on fight week. He's been here for almost 2 weeks, I believe, and he kind of just said that all I have to do is run. If I can find a place to run, I'm at home. And that speaks to what you have already been saying, that he's used to being on the road. He's used to being in unfamiliar territory, and he's able to find solace and able to find comfort in just doing the road work, being able to go for runs, getting his workouts. He feels right at home despite being on the far side of the globe.
Incredible night of fights. That main event is something that everybody's been buzzing about. If you're online and you follow the sport, you know that the sharps, the people who know the sport, are tuning in right now to see our main event. But it's not just, like I mentioned before, in the main event. We've got a terrific light flyweight title fight coming up between Christian Araneta and Thongsak Simsri. And Simsri is, both these guys, you want to talk about styles that differ from each other. Yes. Whereas you have with Norman Jr. and Sasaki, you've got very similar styles. Araneta and Simsri come from different ballparks altogether.
No, for sure. I mean, we talked about this before the broadcast. With Araneta, it's everything is trying to set up his left hand. He loves to go back to his left hand. Everything is attempting to move to a better angle to set up that big left hand shot. And for Simsuri, he's just a dog. He loves to fight. He'll stand right in front and trade with anyone, even to his detriment with that fight against Yabuki. Kind of got dropped early. Maybe was feeling the power a little bit from the the future world champion, of course, current world champion as well, and just kind of resigned himself to a firefight. Regardless, he is going to sit and trust his power that has got him 34 KOs out of his 38 wins. Rightfully so, I guess you could say, but he will rely on his power. He will stand and trade, and he'll bring a fight no matter what.
Yeah, he'll stand virtually still and trade. He's
Yep.
almost like a lumberjack. He plants his feet and just throws, doesn't move his head. The only thing moving are those fists, and at considerable speed and force, as testified by his 34 knockouts amongst his 38 victories. Christian Araneta, southpaw, sharp puncher,
Yes.
fast hands, good footwork. I mean, he'll move more than Simsuri will, but he doesn't throw with any less power than Simsuri.
No, it's true. Both guys do have very strong hands. The knockout power is evident. You don't need to look anywhere past the records, but even if you wanted to, seeing fights, Arvin Magramo, TKO 1 for Araneta, and he was 17-1 going into that fight and had never been stopped back in 2024. Araneta put him out in one round. He again, Manufo, WBO Oriental title in 2017, KO 1. The KO power is there. 9 first-round KOs. Has 7 KOs in the second half of the fight or later, so similar to our guys in the main event. His power will not go away from start to finish.
And like Norman, Araneta fought on the road a couple times, not as much as Norman. But here's the ring announcer, Naoki Sudo.
はじめに青コーナーよりカモンサックシムシー選手の入場です。
And we are set for our IBF Light Flyweight World Championship fight. Christian Araneta, Lungsek Simsuri fighting for the vacant crown. Jason Abelson and Adam Hunt here with you at the Ota City General Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan. We await the main event between Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki. In the meantime, here is Lungsek Simsuri. After building his resume to a gaudy 32-1 that included 30 knockouts against largely anonymous opposition, Simsuri really stepped up the competition in April of 2024, captured the OPBF Light Flyweight title with a 12-round unanimous decision over Mel Fajardo. He's defended the belt twice, most recently in December of last year by a 12-round split decision over Japan's Masataka Taniguchi, setting the stage for tonight's shot at the vacant 108-pound IBF world title. He's all action, plant your feet and wail away. He's a throwback fighter, and he'll be tested like never before by the polished skills of Christian Araneta. And here he is, entering the ring, Lungsek Simsuri.
We had mentioned before about both members of this fight fighting on the road. Of course, Simsuri from Thailand and Araneta from the Philippines. And Simsuri has enjoyed fighting in Japan. He's 7-1 with 4 KOs since fighting in Japan. Obviously, the 8-1 would be the biggest win of his career.
And
capturing the world
here,
title.
yes, sorry about that. Here comes Christian Araneta. They call him the Bomb, from the Cebu City, Philippines, 30 years old. 5'4" tall, southpaw. Began his pro career in September of 2013, reeling off 17 straight wins, including 14 inside the distance. In September of 2019, Sasaki ventured away. Araneta ventured away from the Philippines for the first time, flying to Monterrey, Mexico, only to fall prey to hometown fighter David Vallardes via fourth-round TKO. Araneta rebounded from consecutive wins back on home soil before breaking out his passport a second time and traveling to South Africa, only to drop a disputed decision to then undefeated Serenity Nogashira. Since then, he's reestablished his career back in the Philippines and put the pedal to the metal, racking up 6 consecutive wins, including 5 inside the distance, while rising through the world rankings. Tonight, the well-schooled, fleet-fisted southpaw finds himself on foreign soil for the 3rd time, hoping for his first win abroad and the IBF Junior Flyweight World title as the ultimate souvenir.
As you mentioned, it was a very close fight with Nochinga. Knocked him down in the 12th round. He nearly had him, and there was some times as well in the middle rounds where, Nochinga was kind of on shaky legs, and Araneta might have had him, dead to rights if not for, some well-timed bells from the ringside timekeepers, of course. Just didn't quite jump on the right spots, and even with that knockdown in the 12th round, wasn't enough. Dropped the decision, but he's been on a heater ever since, 6-0 with 5 stoppages, like you said.
場内の皆様、大変恐縮ですが、その場でお立ちいただきまして、ご脱帽の上、正面。
And it is time for the national anthems for both respective fighters.
それでははじめに、タイ王国国歌の吹奏です。
The Thai national anthem for Thingsak Simsri, and now the Philippine national anthem. Jason Abelson and Adam Hunt here with you at the Ota City General Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan. We await the beginning of the IBF Light Flyweight World title bout between Christian Araneta and Thongsak Simsri.
赤コーナー107パウンド4分の3フィリピンここまで27戦25勝20KO2敗 Now introducing first fighting at left corner 107 pounds 3 quarter and 27 bouts only 2 losses 20 knockouts and 25 wins WBO Asia Pacific Light Flyweight number 3. Introducing IBF Light Flyweight number 1 top contender, Christian the Boom Araneta.
Christian Araneta, 25-2, 20 KOs.
107パウンド4分の1
To face this man,
ここまで
Thanonsuke Simsri.
38勝34 KO 1敗
For the record, 38-1, 34 KOs. Thrilling style. And we expect fireworks over the next 12 rounds or less.
Introducing next, fighting at blue corner, 107 and quarter pounds, 39 bouts and only one loss, 34 knockouts and 38 wins. WBO Asia Pacific flyweight number 3. And introducing IBF light flyweight number 2 and OPBF light flyweight former champion, Thanonsuke Simsri.
Thanonsuke Simsri, Christian Araneta about to get it on for the vacant IBF light flyweight world title. Jason Abelson and Adam Hunt here with you. Hope you're enjoying our top-ranked broadcast so far. Of course, we await eagerly the main event between Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki. Until then, it's Araneta and Simsri for the IBF junior flyweight title of the world.
We're just moments away here. Jason obviously is getting the final instructions from the referee in charge.
It's referee Kazuko Nakamura from Japan. And we, as Adam said, are set to go. There you see the tail of the tape. The age factor in favor of Simsri, but Simsri has got a lot of miles under the tank, a lot of fights and a lot of wars in the 25 years he's been with us. Round one underway here from Tokyo, Japan. Araneta the southpaw, the pink and black. Simsri with the black and gold fighting out of the orthodox stance.
Almost sounds cliche at this point, but it does need to be said. Every time you get southpaw versus orthodox, it's the battle of the front foot. Whoever's front foot is on the outside sets them up for their power shots from their backhand. We have to watch that very closely to see who's going to be leading the dance here as we get our first round started.
Simsri trying to establish the jab. Araneta not really stepping forward with his jab, pawing at the moment. But Simsri a little more convicted with his punches. Shot slipped by Simsri. Simsri the busier of the two here early on, but we are in our opening moments. Double jab by Simsri. Araneta pairing him easily. Araneta not opening up at all. Simsri popping the jab now and then. We haven't seen anything other than the jab out of either of these fighters as of yet.
Both guys are aware kind of the potential to come back, that could come back from the other fighter, and given the power that both men carry, you know, nobody wants to get caught with anything while you're still in the feeling out process of the fight. Maybe you get put flat, something you're not quite expecting at this point in the fight. Very conservative start from both.
Right hand to the body, missing by Simsri. Araneta yet to really throw a power shot with the left or the right as they speak. One to the body by Araneta. Lands softly. Simsri answering back. Again, filling out process well underway here in the opening round. Straight left missing by Simsri to the body.
You know, like we had mentioned before, everything for Araneta is to set up that left hand. Doesn't always just throw it blindly. Usually it's with a combination, but when it finds its target, it's deadly.
Right-left combination, partially landed by Simsri. Araneta blocking that, and the follow-up jab by Simsri as well. Again, nothing but jabs here in the opening round. Jab to the body and up top by Simsri. 15 seconds left in the first stanza. One marked ever so slightly by the slightly enhanced work rate of Simsri through 3 minutes.
You know,
Great.
oh, go ahead, please.
No, trainer Julius Irving Junko. That's his name. Seriously, Dr. J. Julius Irving Junko giving instructions to Araneta.
And for Araneta, you know, staying calm like that in the first rounds and in these early rounds and not really allowing Simsbury to fight the style that he likes, where it's just, you know, for the lack of a better term, a firefight and just kind of swinging wild. He's shown in the past, especially with that fight against Yabuki, where he kind of got a little frustrated and started taking some risks that he probably shouldn't have taken and opened himself up far too much and was getting caught with, you know, clean counters and also just combinations, just not bringing his hands back properly to where they needed to be after entering exchanges. And so for Araneta, he might be just trying to draw out Simsbury a little bit. And once he opens up, he'll be able to find a home for that big left.
And Simsbury's showing more movement and jabs than we've seen out of him in the past in that opening round. That could have thrown Araneta for a loop as well, expecting more of a stationary, harder throwing target in front of him. Again, we are round 2 of the IBF light flyweight world title between Christian Araneta in the black and pink and Thanosuk Simsbury in the black and gold. Jason Abelson and Adam Hunt here with you from Tokyo, Japan, as we await the much anticipated main event between Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki. Until then, it's Araneta and Simsbury for the junior flyweight world title. Jab right hand by Simsbury. And Araneta looks a little befuddled by the fact he's seeing a lot of movement and not necessarily a stationary target out of Simsbury. Simsbury mixing it up to the body, to the head, and really owning whatever action there has been through the first 4 minutes of this fight. It's been virtually all Simsbury. Heads coming together there. Nothing opening up as far as cuts that we could tell from this angle.
For sure, very responsible start here from Simsbury. You've seen a couple of shots to the body as well, trying to invest early. Gets a little nod of the head from Araneta there. And usually when they nod and they say, oh, good one, or oh, that didn't hurt, if they react to it at all, it usually found the target and
best
hurt.
Punch of the fight. Well, just landed by Simsbury. Araneta answers back with his best moment, but here comes Simsbury, and it's beginning to heat up in the second half of round 2. Araneta missing with the left up top. Simsbury with the jab landing and the action picking up here in the second.
I'll tell you, the power of Simsbury is really starting to be on display here in this second round. When he sits down on these shots, he's getting a reaction from Araneta, and that's usually not a good sign.
No, absolutely. And it's, you know, it's blood flowing from the nose or from the upper eyebrow of Simsbury. You see that blood trickling down from a cut between the eyes. Good left hand by Araneta.
And he missed a big one earlier in the round because there was no setup, but there's 2 times now where he's had the left hand follow a jab and it's found the target, and that's, you know, been his game plan for most of his career, is setting up the left hand, not just throwing it blind. And
big left right by Simsbury. Good movement by Simsbury as well. Good shot up top by Simsbury. Another right hand by Simsbury. Araneta to the body, Simsbury to the head. A double right hand by Simsbury at the bell, and that is not a small cut on the brow of Thanosuk Simsbury.
Right above the eye, too.
Cutman Masayato Moto Ishii, going to have his work cut out for him in the corner of Thanosuk Simsbury.
He really had that 1-2 going throughout that round, and we see another angle of it right there. Right hand straight down the pipe following the jab, and there a bit of a hook in the arm there. Not quite as straight as the other, so he's changing it up. Going to the body as well. We saw that a few times, and for Simsbury, the activity certainly seems to be there, especially an uptick from round 1. Getting some of those power shots going, but that cut on the eye is concerning, Jason. It's right above the eye and could potentially
the blood
could
go
down into the eye.
Yep.
That's stuff that gets fights called. So
Again,
we'll have to keep an eye.
Cutman
No pun intended on it.
Masahiro Moto Isho, the cutman for Simsbury, doing a good job between rounds. Round 3 underway here from Tokyo, Japan. Christian Araneta in the black and pink. Thungsung Simsri in the black and gold. Good body work by Simsri, but that right hand over the top, landing by Simsri. Araneta trying to go to the body before, but look at Simsri close the gap and throw. I think he's getting more confident as this goes on, which could be falling into the trap of Araneta. Good left. His best punch of the fight by Araneta. Simsri, though, shakes it off and answers back as well.
Simsri is definitely having the most success when he's throwing in pairs or throwing in bunches, although he did land right hand there.
Sinking left hook to the body by Simsri. Right hand in close by Simsri. Araneta backing up and not replying. The pressure and power on display from Thungsung Simsri here so far through 2.5 rounds.
Absolutely. I think it has Araneta puzzled a little bit. Maybe he wasn't quite expecting the pop to be coming from Simsri that he's been feeling through these first 3 rounds.
I think the movement and the power has got him a little flustered. Right hand blocked by Araneta. Counter left, thrown by Araneta, but misses.
That's that big left hand, and it's a fight ender.
But it's landed maybe once or twice in this fight. Body work by Simsri. Throwing more and more confidently with both hands is the Thai fighter. Araneta with a straight left, it missed. Araneta can't get too close to Simsri. As soon as he gets inside, Simsri fires away. Good left by Araneta. Right hand up top by Simsri. Counter left by Araneta.
Really starting to see guys open up here.
Left, right, left combination by Simsri. Big left.
What
by
a
Araneta.
shot!
And that could have been the trap he was laying. Simsri very confident, throwing combinations, and then ba-bam. Araneta with the left hand.
Let's see
That
how
caused
much
that
he's
hand
recovered.
to touch. Simsri went down, no doubt about it. Glove touched after that shot. And here comes the
backing
pressure by Araneta. Right, left, right. Body work by Araneta. Big combinations from both men. Right hand by Simsri. Left by Araneta. Right by Araneta.
What
Wow.
an end to that round.
Terrific action from both men. To end the third.
Just caught him mid-combination, and that is as clean of a left hand as you can land. Christian Araneta.
On the butt. And before that, Araneta was throwing the hands with confidence, landing, but that one shot changed the tenor of this fight. And why wouldn't it? That was a bomb. And the chin on Simsri to just have a glove touch after a shot like that is impressive as well.
And the way that he ended the round as well. You know, they were trading big shots to end that round, and Simsri seemed to have shaken out the cobwebs, at least to the best of his ability.
And a cut on the left eye of Araneta. Looks a little wider than the cut over the left eye of Simsri, but terrific action from both men in the third. Round 4 underway. Jason Abelson, Adam Hunt here with you, courtesy of Top Rank. We're at the Ota City General Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan. Christian Araneta and Thungsung Simsri for the vacant IBF Junior Flyweight World Title.
Looks like the referee just wanted a little closer look at that cut over the left eye of Simsri, but gives the all clear, and we're back underway. And man, that third round was as advertised for these two. Big shots from both men. Big exchanges to end the round as well.
And that vaunted power by Araneta showing up in one punch variety with that big left that dropped Simsri near the end of the third. Let's see if Simsri takes a more cautious approach this round, because he was opening up with combinations when he got caught with by that left by Araneta.
He was for sure, and he's had success with a 2 or a 3 punch combination. He kind of got caught in the middle of about a 6 or a 7 punch combination there, where Araneta was really able to find the spot and of course score that knockdown. And earlier in the fight, and even in that round, when he's going 2 or 3 shots at a time, it seems to kind of have a better effect because he's able to get himself covered back up, and any response from Araneta is usually blocked with the gloves, or if he can back out of range. So if he can stay away from those long extended combinations where nothing is landing perfectly flush, he might be able to stay out of the way of that big left hand. And for Araneta, I mean, you have to be looking to hit that counter left again. If you can find it once, you can find it again.
Simsbury trying to get close, dig to the body. Araneta really good at creating space for himself, not getting too close. But when he does get in, that power is on display. Simsbury missing with the right hand. Araneta, a very disciplined fighter. Hands up, maintaining space. Simsbury, left-right combination up top. Araneta. Left eye of Christian Araneta as they get together for round 5 here from Tokyo, Japan.
Great work from both cut men. Those are 2 big gashes over the eyes, and doesn't seem to be playing too much of a factor so far.
Sarangsak Simsbury in the black and gold, Christian Araneta in the orange, pink, and black. For the IBF light flyweight world title, the title vacant, but not for long.
And for Simsbury, definitely seems to be a little more cautious on his way in. We're not seeing those long extended combinations.
And you say that, and there he throws one.
3-punch combination there. I think that's right in the sweet zone.
Yeah, I think it's part of his DNA to throw it. I mean, I'm sure he's actually fighting himself being this patient. There's Simsbury working the body and the head. Araneta parrying, waiting for that chance to counter. In the meantime, it's Simsbury doing the scoring here in the 5th. Right hands up top by Simsbury. Araneta stalking him around the ring, but not throwing. It's Simsbury with the output. Not landing a lot, but at least he's throwing, which could be playing into Araneta's game plan. We saw that in the 3rd. Absorb, and then attack. But right now, it's Simsbury doing the attacking. And Araneta biding his time. The jabs by Simsbury. Again, creating the space for himself. Right hand over the top, partially blocked by Araneta. Jabs by Simsri. Araneta not that movement by Simsri is throwing Araneta. Araneta needs to have his feet planted to throw these shots, and that Simsri movement is neutralizing that Araneta power. The shots have not been coming from Araneta at all. With this lateral movement, he's just not throwing, and I think Simsri is realizing that. That if he stands and throws combinations, he's going to give Araneta a chance to counter. But if he's moving laterally, Araneta is not getting off. Big left by Araneta. Again, it's Simsri standing and taking a picture of his work, and Araneta answering another big left.
There it was. He caught him on the counter to get this whole thing started. Simsri went with a right hand to the body and perfectly timed. It was a left hand over the top for Araneta.
Good work at the end of the round by Araneta after I was pontificating over the fact he wasn't getting off and when his feet were planted. Well, he planted and landed at the end of that round, and that cut over the left eye is getting pretty wide.
There's that big shot. Simsri goes to the body, and
boom.
Araneta answers with a big left over the top. Almost reminiscent of what we saw.
Yeah, in the third, absolutely.
To get that first knockdown, but Simsri, at least for the time being, stands tall to the big left hand.
Well, that cut is getting wider and wider over that eye of Christian Araneta.
One bit of confidence, though. It doesn't seem to be bleeding too much during the rounds and getting into his eye, because given the fight that we've seen so far, we don't want to have it end by a doctor stoppage or a technical decision, depending on what actually did cause either cut.
Yeah, yeoman's work by both corners to control their respective cuts from their fighters. Christian Araneta kicks things off here in the sixth with a great left to the body. So looks like Simsri in the black and gold. Christian Araneta in the orange-pink with black trim. Jason Abelson and Adam Hunt here with you from the Ota City General Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan. Funks like Simsri, good right hand over the top. Another good right hand by Simsri. Araneta doing well, keeping his guard up, blocking most of these.
Simsri, the activity certainly hasn't seemed to dip too much. It dipped a little bit in the fourth after getting knocked down in the third. It seemed like he was maybe a little hesitant, but in the fifth, the activity was there. In the sixth, it certainly seems like it's there for Simsri.
It really is a case of volume over power. The volume of Simsri versus the thudding power of Araneta so far in this fight.
Of course, the two biggest shots of the entire fight have been left hands from Araneta.
Absolutely.
Simsri seems to be doing all the right things. Ed, you had mentioned lateral movement, throwing in combinations, but doesn't seem to be overextending himself too much like what got him caught in the third.
And now it's Araneta on the prowl here in the sixth, moving forward, with a more aggressive tone. Left blocked by Simsri. Simsri to the body, into the head, but pitter-pats. Absorbed without much problem by Christian Araneta. Right hook missing by Araneta. He doesn't throw that right hook often at all. It really is about that left hand for Christian Araneta. There's another left hand right on the chin from Araneta.
Legs went a little stiff there from Simsri.
Another left. Simsri answering back with the right hand. Big left by Araneta. I mean, you can just have that on a loop. Big left by Araneta. Big left by Araneta. I mean, that is what he throws and lands. Right hand by Simsri.
He's been able to split the guard a few times there with that 1-2.
Yeah, but that guard by
Araneta. Catch him.
Yeah, it's always there. Those hands do not drop at all. Araneta's defense. It's not slick, but it is effective. It's block and counter and land from Christian Araneta.
Keeping his backhand up high too opens himself up to get that left counter up quickly.
Left hand just misses by Araneta. He is sitting, heads come together again at the end of the sixth. good action, and it's those moments from Araneta that are setting this fight apart. Moments like that big left, catching Simsri numerous times in that round. Simsri has got a beard on him. He's absorbing these shots and still coming forward.
You said it. There's the big left, and there was two big lefts right after that Simsri seemed to just eat. And that's been, kind of his calling card throughout his entire career. 39 fights, and has never shied away from standing and trading in any of them.
And the cut over the brow of Tanoksuk Simsri seems to be widening as well. The heads came together, and that looks like it might be a second cut on that eye.
Now round 7.
Round 7 about to begin. We are live from the Ota City General Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan. We await the absolutely incredible main event between Brian Norman and Jin Sasaki. In the meantime, lots of action to go through between these two gentlemen, Christian Araneta and Tanoksuk Simsri, for the IBF light flyweight world title. It's been a power display so far from Christian Araneta, scoring the knockdown in the third and landing the truly meaningful shots so far through 6+ rounds. Simsri has his moments as far as dictating pace, but it's the power moments, in my mind, that have been the difference for Araneta in this fight.
Yeah, for sure. And he's got 20 knockouts in his career. Obviously, the eye-catching stat of 9 first-round KOs, but 7 of them have come in the second half of the fight. And so the power obviously doesn't go away for all 12 rounds. And for a conservative start where he's just buying his time and finding home for his shots, if he's going to have an uptick in the activity here, he may just find that shot that finally puts away Simsri.
Yep, patience and power on display from Christian Araneta
Sure.
here tonight. For Tanoksuk Simsri, it's a case of just avoiding that power but still scoring. You can make a case for a couple of rounds just based on the output alone. And if that's indeed the issue, it's not a hugely one-sided fight on the scorecards. But he has to be wary. He can't just pitter-pat and walk around. He has to sit down on some of these shots to make a difference. But when he does that, that opens up the opportunity for Araneta. Exactly.
Yes, and like you'd mentioned, the high points, of course, have all been Araneta with the big left hands, but kind of your daily driver for the rest of this fight, for the most part, has been the activity of Simsri.
And I think that'll dictate, you're right, I think that'll dictate the actual pace of this fight. I think Araneta is very comfortable waiting and waiting and waiting on Simsri. It's a matter of how does Simsri react to that threat of Araneta's power. Right and left up top by Simsri, good scoring blow and then getting out of the way. Again, it's Simsri with the punches and the movement. And Araneta biding his time, pressing forward, missing with a combination up top. Simsri right hand up the top. Araneta coming forward. Tough round to score.
Very.
Do you go with the volume of Simsri, or do you go with the fact that Araneta, he didn't throw a lot, but when he does throw, it's there, and the fact that he's got that power is dictating the terms for Simsri. So how did judges react to this?
Absolutely, because the power advantage clearly lies with Araneta, for sure. But again, just the activity of Simsri. He could be stealing these rounds. It all depends where the judges lie and where their priorities lie for scoring a fight.
And that cut again. Said it round after round, but seems to be worsening over that left eye of Christian Araneta, as is the case with the cut over the left eye of his counterpart, Tanoksuk Simsri. Both men bearing the scars of battle here.
Now round 8.
Through 7 rounds. Round 8 set to get underway. The IBF light flyweight world title up for grabs. Christian Araneta in the pink, orange, and black trim. Thumsuk Simsri in the black and gold. Jason Abelson and Adam Hunt here with you live from Tokyo, Japan. Of course, the main event, Brian Norman Jr., Jin Sasaki. Still to come. In the meantime, Araneta and Simsri putting on a show.
Like I had mentioned, with Araneta having seemingly the power advantage, and he seems to be just waiting and waiting for his chances to land his left hands on the counter, but I don't think he needs to. I don't think he needs to wait for his openings. I think regardless of where this fight goes, Simsri is going to have pressure and going to have activity, and so if you're not returning with, you know, combinations of your own that you're initiating, you're just kind of waiting and you're playing his game. And I don't think that needs to be the case for him. He's got that powerful left hand that has put him down already once in this fight. I think if he throws some combinations and really looks to set that left hand up.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for Simsri to help him set up that left hand.
For sure, and I don't think he needs to, especially with, you know, we don't know what the judges are seeing and where their priorities are lying. You know, with the activity of Simsri, he could just be stealing rounds that Araneta thinks he has won because he has the power advantage.
Oh, good point. Heads nearly coming together again. It's happened a couple times in this fight. And both men kind of playing a waiting game. Simsri being cautious, Araneta being patient. There's a disciplined defense from Araneta. Chin tucked. Great footwork getting out of the way. And Simsri just headhunting here. Hasn't gone to the body whatsoever this fight, or very sparingly anyway. Left jab by Simsri up top. Right hand by Simsri. That's been his best punch for the last few rounds. That right hand that just landed.
Well, you mentioned he hasn't quite gone to the body as much with that right hand, and it might be because he's been caught a few times on the counter lefts when he goes to the body with his right hand, and that might be kind of playing in the decision making.
Jab, jab, left from Araneta. That right hand has been almost non-existent from the Philippine fighter. Occasionally pause a jab with it, but it is all about waiting for that left to unload. Right hand by Simsri. Good round from the Thai fighter again. Doing that much more than Araneta in that round. And maybe the Thai fighter putting that one in the bank as far as rounds go.
Yeah, like you mentioned, we've said it, sound like a broken record at this point, but tough rounds to score.
Yeah, they really are. But you can make a case when Araneta is not throwing.
Yep.
The threat of power is not enough to win a round. You have to actually display that power, or at least the willingness to use it. And a lot of these rounds, it's Simsri that's doing the throwing. Now, it's fairly sparingly, and
Yep.
there's not a lot of pop on it, but
But when there's no return, to your point, exactly, it's
Now round 9.
it's difficult to kind of chalk that up as a round for yourself when you're getting outthrown and outlanded, despite maybe you not thinking there's too much damage coming to you. If you're not answering enough or with enough power and enough force, you're going to give rounds away. And in a championship fight like this, you can't afford to do that in any round.
exactly. And I wonder when the instructions to Araneta include something like start throwing, go forward and press the pace. We're seeing more of his jab this round. You can kind of tell what happens the first 30 seconds of a round, what the fighter's been told between rounds. Araneta coming forward more in the first 40 seconds of this round than he has previously.
There's that little double right hand from Simsri. He's found it a few times. Looks like he almost went for it again there. And
This jab, left.
with Araneta kind of backing straight up when he throws combinations, he's kind of finding that if he goes over the top with the right hand, and it's open again a second time.
Simsri. Again, on his back foot. You don't see that too often. You didn't see it that too often in the past out of Simsri. This reluctance to throw, but that left-handed power from Araneta, I think, has caused some tactics to shift in the Simsri camp.
You know, for Simsri, if it's not broke, don't fix it almost at this point. He's throwing these 2-3 punch combinations. He's making sure that his right hand comes back up and watches for those big lefts from Araneta, and he's just kind of slowly but surely chipped away. And in this 9th round, it's, despite the knockdown early on, this fight is very much in the air if it goes to the cards.
Yeah, I said it before. I think the lateral movement is deterring Araneta from planting and throwing. Now, last time I said that, he actually landed a left, but I think I think that theory bearing out with what we're seeing. It's Araneta is not letting go with those shots.
And you can
combination thrown by Araneta, but it's only when Simsri is not moving.
And you can see it. There is just that little extra turn. There's a little more zip on those shots than what we're seeing from Simsri, but just not enough activity.
And again, Araneta is being a little more aggressive with that jab, but that jab is just so inconsequential as far as a weapon goes for Araneta. But he hasn't thrown that, whoa, big right hand counter by Simsri. That's his best punch in quite some time.
Bit of a wobble from Araneta.
Left hand by
left from
Simsri.
Both.
And heads came together there at the end of the round. But good work by Simsri at the end of that round. And yeah, another cut has opened up, this time over the other eye of Araneta. Both fighters throwing and landing to end the round, and there the heads come together.
The head clash. It's not good. We saw it there before the replay started. Gash over the right eye. Both men landing at the end of rounds. There's that left gash. Gash over the left eye that we've seen from the earlier rounds. And
yeah,
hasn't quite been bleeding too much, which is obviously due to the expert corner work, and hopefully they can work their magic over. Oof. Hopefully they can work their magic on the cut that's now over the right eyes due to that clash of heads.
Yeah, you see it. Araneta's cut man, Jerry Castroverde, really earning his money tonight. Both fighters cut men doing a good job to stem the damage, the fairly obvious cuts that their chargers have suffered. Round 10 of 12 underway. It's been close so far between Christian Araneta and Thongsak Simsri in a battle for the junior flyweight world title. We're in the Ota City General Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan, awaiting our main event between Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki. Jason Abelson and Adam Hunt here with you. Hope you're enjoying this great show by Top Rank. And the intriguing battle we've seen so far between these two fighters.
In that last round, we saw Simsri double up on that right hand. He would throw a left and then a right right after it. And we'll see if Araneta maybe is able to clock that and comes back with a left of his own.
Good work from both men there. I think Simsri did well at the end of that last round, landing with power. When he does that, he opens himself to the counter left from Araneta, but it's a chance he has to take at this point. Pine right hook missing from Araneta. Left to the body, falling a tad short from Araneta.
Maybe some bruising around the right eye of Araneta.
And the blood leaking from the left eye of Araneta. In full view there. Jab up top by Simsri. Araneta biding his time. Simsri very deliberately moving to his left to avoid that power out of Araneta's left.
Still not quite the urgency from Araneta, despite being on the front foot for most of this. For most of this round, there's still not quite as much activity as.
Well, it's the movement of Simsri. I think it's causing problems for Araneta. He's not able to get off when Simsri's moving laterally.
Sure, we saw it even from the opening round. The side-to-side movement is he can't quite get a read and can't quite line up that big left.
Just missed with one there, did Araneta. Araneta getting a little frustrated, I think, by the pace of this fight.
For Simsri, just another responsible round, kind of just activity without opening himself up too much. He must have learned his lesson from that knockdown in the third round. Hasn't been too many instances where he's kind of resigned himself to a firefight like we'd seen in the past.
Heads coming together, good left to the body by Araneta in that exchange. There's that left. Araneta's big punch of the round. And the cut over the right eye doesn't seem to be that bad.
Doesn't seem to be bleeding too much. We haven't seen the referee have any extra attention to it. Hasn't called in the ringside physician to take a look in the middle of rounds, which is usually a good sign.
And that cut that opened up early over the eye of Simsri, really handled well by his cut man, Masayasa Motoishi. He's done a wonderful job. 2 more rounds to go. 11 of 12 underway here in Tokyo, Japan.
Neither guy can really coast going into these last 2 rounds. There's too close to tell on a lot of these rounds. Obviously, there was the third round, which was the knockdown for Araneta, so that's a 10-8. But every other round, you could kind of make an argument for either guy.
Yep. No, difficult fight to
score. A lot of
score.
questions are going to be answered here if this does reach the final bell.
And if you're the corner of Araneta, you have to be telling him you have to up the pace, because these close rounds could be going to Simsri. And it's only because Araneta's not throwing. It's not that Simsri is winning these rounds outright. It's that Araneta is making them close by not throwing.
You never know exactly what goes through a judge's head, and for a very close round, but one guy just had slightly more active. They might side with that. They might side with you, kind of carrying more of the power, but there's too many unknowns to sit back and rest. And for either guy, a little uptick in activity here in these last 2 rounds to really set yourself apart.
Good job by Simsri. Again, nothing in return from Araneta. And not much in advance from Simsri either. Good left to the body by Araneta. Another left to the body.
It was a very conservative round 10 from Simsri. There wasn't as much output as we'd seen in previous rounds, and not a whole lot here in 11 either. Both guys kind of aware of the power that could come back if they leave themselves open. And
in fact, this is one of the few rounds that you can say that the lack of action has actually favored Araneta in this round. He's done slightly more than Simsri. In past rounds, it's been Simsri is doing slightly more than Araneta. Araneta letting his hands go a little more frequently here in the 11th, especially that left to the body. Up top, a right hand by Simsri. Not landing with full effect, though.
And for Araneta here, he has the reach advantage, and he hasn't quite utilized his jab quite enough to keep Simsri at bay. And
yeah,
especially with that left hand being as effective as it is, if you have a couple of jabs and have some other shots to really set it up, I think it could be really effective here, especially in the later rounds where Simsri might kind of feel that he's had the worst of it and been able to get through, and feels maybe a little bit of safety here in these later rounds.
Looks like Simsri, good left hand by Simsri. For the most part, taking this round off, a key round. It's been Araneta that's been pushing the pace. 1 round to go. 11 interesting rounds in the book between Christian Araneta and Antonio Simsbury. There you see the Ota City General Gymnasium in Tokyo, Japan. We are here live waiting for that main event between Brian Norman Jr. and Jin Sasaki. I know everybody is. If you're up at this hour, whether you're in North America or anywhere in the world, if you're watching this fight and watching this card, you're waiting with bated breath for that main event.
For these guys, you can't have any regrets about this 12th round. Both of them have worked so hard to get to this shot. Obviously, Araneta came up short against Notshinga and has 6 fights since then and 5 knockouts to get to this point. And for Simsbury, his lone loss came to Yabuki back in 2022, and he's been fighting for this world title shot ever since. Can't leave any stone unturned, and can't leave anything else in the tank here. 3 minutes to go for a world title.
Araneta pieing with that jab, but at least he's throwing it now. Again, both men keeping everything in the holster for a good portion of this fight, trying to battle for position and to avoid power, and it's made for some tough rounds to score. Jason Abelson and Adam Hunt with you here live from Tokyo. Araneta pieing with the jab, and Simsbury doing next to nothing so far. And this 12th round looking a lot like most of the previous 11. Both guys keeping it in the holster. Simsbury just really unwilling to get any closer than what he is right now.
Almost half the round gone, and kind of 50-50 here, not a lot from either guy, and so one big moment could sway the judges and steal you this last round. And every round is so important when there's 12 of them.
And you get the impression that's really weighing on Simsbury, because he's been countered before in this fight, and he's right now unwilling to get in and let those hands go, knowing he could get countered by Araneta. Araneta not doing much else either, maybe waiting for Simsbury to come forward to land that counter, but Araneta's not exactly pressing the pace either.
Final minute here. One big moment from either guy could really steal this entire round.
Yeah, it's going to be a night of regret for one of these fighters, just thinking that the opportunity's not taken to come up with this title. Left hand blocked by Simsbury. Heads coming together again.
Araneta really trying to load up on a big left to the body there. Didn't quite land by the, once they got a little close, they clinched up.
Simsbury just moving to his left constantly, cognizant of that left hand of Araneta. Jab up top. Missing from it, Simsbury. But not much coming back from Araneta either. Jab right by Simsbury, 10 seconds left. Right hand up top and underneath by Simsbury, and that's the bell to end the 12th.
Those little flurries like that Simsbury had there at the end of the 12th, I mean, that could be the difference between this round and not having it.
Well, I have to tell you, there's nothing else to judge that round on other than those little flurries by Simsbury. Because in my mind, you can't give Araneta a round like that for simply having the power and not using it.
There was a few times there in the opening kind of minute and 20 seconds where Araneta was looking to set up that left and had a couple of jabs. Not a whole lot behind them, but still kind of had that activity. But towards the end of the round, it was Simsbury who kind of opened it up a little bit, albeit a conservative opening.
And how many times at the end of 12 rounds of a world championship fight does neither fighter celebrate because I don't think either one of them
I
thinks
don't
they may
think
have won the fight.
I'm not sure if either of them know who's winning this one.
I'm not sure if either of them are convinced they should have won it, to be honest with you.
Winner by split decision. IBF light flyweight new champion at blue corner.
Rangsak Simsri, the new IBF light flyweight world champion after 12, I'm going to say, confusing rounds.
For
That
sure.
was confusing.
Neither of us knew who the winner was. Neither of the fighters knew who it was. And in the end, kind of what we had kind of fallen back on was, well, at least there was the activity coming from Simsri. And obviously one of the judges really agreed with us, 116-111.
So 8 rounds to 4 and 9 rounds to 3, if you factor in the knockdown, that were scored in favor of Simsri by the 2 consenting judges. The opposing judge had it 6-all. It was 114-113 Araneta with that knockdown. Interesting. The Rangsak Simsri winner by split decision. And look at the tears of joy as he is the new IBF light flyweight world champion. And neither guy knew who was going to win that fight.
For sure. For Simsri, you know, he got caught with that big shot early, and that was obviously weighing on his mind as he went about the rest of the fight and shortened up his combinations, trying not to leave himself overextended. And
It's going to be a night of regret for Christian Araneta. That fight was there for the taking, and he didn't take it. Let's go up to the ring and hear from the new champion of the world.
ベルトを巻いた今の気持ちを教えてください。
มอบเข็มขัดอันนี้ยังแต่ยายไม่เชื่อไป2 วันที่แล้วผมทำได้แล้วครับยาย
家族のために戦うという気持ちもとても大きかった一戦だと思いますが、そのあたりいかがでしょうか。
This is something you fight for your family, but actually, how was it? How was it?
ใช่ครับก็อยากจะบอกที่บ้านอยากจะบอกที่ครอบครัวที่บ้านพ่อกับแม่แล้วก็ญาติพี่น้องที่บ้านว่าผมทำได้แล้วครับ
To my family, friends, and my team, I did it.
今日はどういうことを考えてどんな作戦で戦いましたでしょうか。
What kind of strategy did you have coming into this fight?
ก็วางแผนมาผมซ้อมมาอย่างดีเลยวางแผนกับเทรนเนอร์ทั้งทีมอย่างที่ญี่ปุ่นแล้วก็เทรนเนอร์ที่ภูมิที่เมืองไทยแล้วก็พี่ไอช่วยสอนเทคนิคผมได้เยอะเลยนะแต่คู่ต่อสู้ก็มาแข็งแกร่งยอมรับว่าเขาแข็งแกร่ง
The exultation on display from Simsri and the dejection on display from Araneta as the announcement was made as to the winner. And almost disbelief sometimes out of the corner out of Simsri as well.
I admit that my opponent is very strong, but I came to Japan early and I followed the strategy of my team from Japan and my team from Thailand, and the old strategy came in reality and that I got victorious.
グリーン津田陣では元石会長が会長になって最初の世界チャンピオン、そして、プームさんも味方についていました。準ゲートに伝えたいことありますか？
Are there any messages to your teammates?
ผมอยากจะบอกค่ายของกินซิดาว่าผมเอาแชมป์โลกให้ทุกคนนะครับกินซิดาเย้
Thank you so much, everyone. I did it.
さあ、そしてベルトが肩にかけられて今後について最後に一言いただいてもいいでしょうか。
Right now, championship belt is on your shoulder. What's your future?
ตั้งเป้าหมายหรือยังคะ
ก็แล้วแต่ผู้จัดการเทรนเนอร์พี่ไอซ์แล้วก็ทางโตชิจะจัดให้ผมได้ขึ้นชกต่อไปครับแต่ก่อนอื่นเลยก็ผมว่าอยากจะมอบเข็มขัดให้กับ3 คนนี้ครับพี่ภูมิพี่ไอซ์โตชิสั่ง
There he is, the emotional, brand new IBF light flyweight world champion, Mongsuc Simsri from Thailand, who outweighted and slightly outperformed Christian Araneta over the course of 12 rounds. And Araneta, Simsri mentioned the strategy of the team, which was clearly to move vertically, move around the ring, and keep Araneta's feet moving and prevent him from throwing that left. And to that extent, he did it perfectly and convincingly in the eyes of 2 of those judges.
Absolutely, it was the activity that won him that fight. It was, you know, the side-to-side movement, as you mentioned, staying out of the way of the huge left hand. Obviously, there was one that caught him on early in the fight, but for the most part, there was only about 2 or 3 other times where he really opened up a little bit too much, and it was a firefight. But for the most part, was smart defensively when he had to be, stayed on the gas pedal enough to obviously earn the judge's nod. And at the end of the day, it came down to activity.
And there he is, the team, very happy team of the new IBF light flyweight world champion, Mongsuc Simsri. In the meantime, Yu Oku and Rhea Abe set to square off for the Japanese featherweight championship. That's over 10 rounds. And Sora Tanaka, a thrilling prospect out of Japan, taking on veteran Takiro Kobata. That for the OPBF welterweight championship. That is 12 rounds. And of course, that main event, Norman and Sasaki looming large over this event. And just can't wait for that. I can't say it in any other words. I mean, that is the fight we're here to see. But up next, it's Yu Oka and Rhea Abe.
No, no, no. I added way too much sugar to my gochujang pasta